Good morning. In 1997, when Deep Blue beat Garry Kasparov at chess, we called it a step change in artificial intelligence. Then in 2016, when AlphaGo beat Lee Sedol at Go, we called it a step change in machine learning. What we are witnessing in 2025 is unprecedented and fundamentally different. We're seeing AI systems not just crawl through corpuses of data and reason and identify fraud. We're seeing these systems actually help broker deals, draft complex financial instruments, do real-time trading, and displaying reasoning that surprises even their creators. These systems are displaying agency, the ability to act independently, goal-driven, seek information, pivot when that information changes, and make autonomous decisions. So the question is not whether agentic AI is going to reshape financial services industry. It's happening right now. The question to ask is whether you will be architecting this transformation for your organization, or are you going to allow yourself to be disrupted? I'm Miki Iqbal with AWS, and in the next 30 minutes, I will demonstrate to you how agentic AI is reshaping the future of financial services today, right now. Most important, you will walk out of this room with a mental model on how you can optimize and tune this technology to be the architects of transformation for your organization. So let's go ahead and get started. The way agentic AI is fundamentally different from what I call passive AI, which does reasoning, answers questions, is that it has the ability to have a goal-driven, independent behavior, and it can independently seek and solve objectives. It gathers information, and based on that information, it can create different reasoning-based tasks. And then, based on the information that it gathers back from these tasks, it can make autonomous decisions. So the secret sauce is in agentic AI's ability to formulate plans, take these plans and divide them into various tasks that need to be accomplished, identify the set of tools that these tasks would be accomplished by, run those tasks, gather more information, do more reasoning if necessary, and then make a decision autonomously and with minimal human intervention. So enough of the talk. Let's see how all of this works. So we're going to go through a demo of agentic loan underwriting. So this is a process which I'm sure many of you are very, very familiar with. So before we go into the demo, let's talk a little bit about what it takes to do this manually. So imagine you have a loan application that comes in, you assign it to a supervisor who would look at that loan application, and they would have to accomplish multiple tasks. For example, they would have to verify the income of the person who's applying for that loan. They would also have to verify what kind of expenses that person already has, whether they can qualify for this loan or not. They'd have to look at policy and regulation and many other things. And they also would need to have a credit check done. Now, all of these activities are tasks that require seeking information, gathering information, verifying that information, making sure that it adheres to policies and standards of the organization, and then reasoning through it to make a decision. The decision could be to either approve or reject a loan, or to ask for more information. So what we're going to see next is the same process now being done through agentic AI. It's a short demo, and I'll pause a couple of times in the middle just to kind of provide some explanations. So imagine this, Okay, I think we have to go forward. Okay, so we launch an automated demo, and this is going to mimic the process that I just talked about. If you could pause, please. So in this particular case, we have a supervisor agent, which supervises 3 different agents, and I'll talk a little bit about those. But the task in hand is they've been given a loan application. They've been asked to make a determination of whether this loan should be granted or not. Go ahead, please. So once the supervisor agent starts looking at the application, they look at the various documents that have come with the application. And it reasons and figures out that there are 3 discrete tasks that need to be performed. Stop, please. Pause, please. In this particular case, they have to verify the income. So there's a lot of income-related documentation that's been gathered. They have to also verify the expenses. So there's a lot of expense-related documentation that's been gathered. And then they have to also run some credit checks. Let's go ahead, please. So the way it works is the supervisor agent then gives these tasks out to 3 sub-agents: the investment agent, the expense agent, and the credit agent. Each one of these agents would then go work in parallel on a different set of tasks to try to get to the goal that's been assigned to them. Verify income, verify expense, and get the credit reports. Pause, please. So as this information is being collected, each one of these agents has the ability to act independently and autonomously to provide a set of recommendations, which will then be passed on back to the supervisor agent. Go ahead, please. And as this processing is going on, you have to consider that the supervisor agent is now getting additional context from all of these agents. Let's stop, please. So at this point in time, what you will see is that there's a different set of recommendations, you can go ahead, that have been provided by these different agents. And these are now being considered by the, pause please, by the supervisor agent. And one of the things that scrolled very fast that was identified was that the loan application had an income of about $120,000. But as the income verification agent gathered the bank documents or the pay slips, it verified that that did not match what was being deposited into the bank on a monthly basis. So there was a discrepancy between the amount that was shown in the loan application and the amount that the bank was actually getting from the employer of that person. So this basically flagged it, and the supervisor agent decided that there's additional information that's required. And at this point in time, you can go ahead, please. You can get a human into the loop, which is extremely important in these cases, and you can get additional information. So how are we seeing multiple organizations gain value from agentic AI today? In the financial services industry, there's really, I could put this into 3 different buckets. So the first bucket would be in workplace productivity. In this particular case, many of the financial services industry players are using agentic AI to power the work that their knowledge workers do. So for example, research analysts, traders, folks that are working on risk assessments have the ability to use agentic AI into their workflows and be more productive, be more efficient, and optimize the cost of the work that they're doing. We're also seeing, in terms of workplace productivity, a lot of great work being done by the developers who are using agentic AI tools. And We've seen major transformations happening in this area. So what used to take years and months in terms of coding and development or even migrations and transformations is now being done in a much, much shorter time frame. Secondly, we're seeing major business workflows. I kind of demonstrated one for you for underwriting and loan application processing, but there are others as well that are being transformed across the board using these technologies in the financial services industry. Now, these use cases could be all the way from intelligent document processing to fraud detection to creating hyper-personalized personal experiences for customers calling in, as well as different type of analysis and research that's required for trading or financial services. And finally, we're seeing a lot of financial services organizations utilize agentic AI to run massive simulations at scale and running experiments to kind of figure out what are the opportunities that are ahead of them, as well as what are some of the trade-offs that they need to make to avoid the pitfalls that might be coming in their future. So initially, I talked about, hey, you're going to be able to walk out of here with a mental model for how you can be the architects of this transformation for your organization and how you can optimize this technology to really become a competitive advantage for your organization. So the mental model that we've seen successful customers use when they've succeeded with implementing agentic AI for their business is kind of captured on this screen. So first of all, we've seen that it's very, very important to work backwards from a real business problem that you're trying to solve. Trying to implement AI or generative AI or agentic AI for the sake of technology is never a good idea. We've seen organizations become very successful when they have identified a specific problem that they want to solve within a specific workflow. So an example could be they want to reduce the time it takes to process a loan. They want to have considerably more success when they're trying to identify fraudulent transactions. So those are the kind of workflows that you can then apply agentic AI principles to and technology to solve and get good results. Secondly, these organizations that have been successful across the board, and there are many of those that are our customers, have treated their data as their biggest differentiator. Originally, many of these companies have data that's in silos. There's very little communication, or I would say meaningful interaction or communication between this data. So what these organizations have done as a best practice is they've applied modern data architecture principles, which allows data to be exchanged in a meaningful manner across these silos, but while it's properly governed and with responsible AI frameworks on top of them. And this data exchange has made it possible for them to take their most valuable asset, which is their data, and use it for insights-driven, value-driven work. Trust is non-negotiable in the financial services industry. All of the organizations that we have worked with, which have been extremely successful in deploying generative AI and getting value out of it, have clearly identified and implemented a responsible AI framework for their organization. They've also put in the right compliance, security, and regulatory controls and built guardrails for their AI systems that operate within the confines of these controls. And that's been very, very important. You also need to demand the best price performance. At AWS, we believe in model choice. Our Bedrock service has 30 plus different model providers that provide various number of models, large language models for helping with generative AI as well as agentic AI. And we believe that no one single model can fit all use cases. So customers should be able to look at various models, run a comparative analysis based on their use case, and we provide these kind of comparative analysis tools, and then decide which model they want to use. And they have to be conscious about price as well as performance while they do that. And finally, as you saw in the demo, it is in order to accomplish complex tasks or use agentic AI in workflows that involve very complex tasks, it's really recommended to use a multi-agent approach, which is what I demonstrated to you.